This is Why We Clash podcast. I'm your host, Jason Rogers, and on this show, we'll dive into the ongoing pay gap between men and women in sports, discuss different views and perspectives on this important issue. We will explore pay gap and shows up in various levels from college sports to professional leagues. In today's podcast, I am joined by Dominic and Jose. Hello, Dominic and Jose. Welcome to the podcast, and thank you for being here today. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm Dominic, and I've really been into sports for as long as I can remember. Recently, I started noticing how much the pay gap between men and women's sports really stands out, even at the high school level. It got me curious, so I decided to dig into the issue for a project. I'm excited to share what I've learned and chat about it with you both.
Hi, I'm Jose. I recently researched the pay gap between men and women in sports, looking into how it's changed over time. It was really insightful, and I'm excited to share what I learned and discuss the issue.
That's awesome. Well, thank you again for joining me today. So let's go into it. In recent article titled "Inequality in College Sports" by Shweta Sardan and Paul Levine talks about how women in college sports get less. An ESPN analyst found that overwhelming majority of top 5 athletic departments tweeted more about boys' teams than girls, even though women's teams outnumber men's teams at almost all schools. The consequences and inequality that could mean Title IX, violations and lawsuits, and perhaps fewer dollars for female athletes via sponsorship and endorsement deals. But we have changed and kept things fresh. But there are problems that arise. I want to start by asking you, why do you think the problem is with this?
I think the core problem here is the lack of visibility and respect for women's sports. When athletic departments focus more on promoting men's teams, even when there are more women's teams, it sends a message that those sports aren't as valuable or worthy of attention. This is kind of biased and can affect everything from media coverage to sponsorships, making it harder for female athletes to get the recognition and financial support they deserve. It's not just about fair treatment, it's about making sure everyone has the same opportunity to succeed.
Yeah, I totally agree. The lack of media coverage and the unequal promotion of women's sports is a huge part of the issue. But I also think it goes beyond just visibility. Women's sports don't always get the same resources or investment as men's sports, even if the teams are just as capable. The financial side of things, like sponsorships and endorsements, often just aren't there for female athletes. It's frustrating because when you don't see these athletes getting the same recognition, it feels like they're being set up to fail.
Awesome. Let's switch gears. What do you think we should do as fans? In an article by Adelphi University, yet professional sports still have large pay discrepancies between men and women. Male athletes across most major sports earn significantly more than female athletes. NBA players make millions of dollars on average, while WNBA players earn much less than the highest salaries, falling below $250,000 in 2023. There is also a large pay gap in soccer while Men's World Cup boosting the prize pool of $440 million, while the Women's World Cup only has $110 million in 2023. Although the U.S. women's national team negotiate equal pay in settlement with the U.S. soccer.
As fans, we need to speak up and support women's sports more. The pay gap between men and women, like in the NBA and WNBA, shows there's a lot of inequality. It's not just about watching games, it's also by showing up and showing we care, by attending games, talking about it, and getting involved. When we show support, it can push organizations to make changes.
Right. Fans have a lot of influence, especially on social media. We can help by sharing women's sports highlights, going to games, and buying merchandise. It's about making sure women's sports are seen as just as important as men's.
In
The
an,
more we
art-
support them, the more change will happen.
in an article by Olivia Abrams, she states Forbes' latest ranking in the highest paid athletes put into stark relief the vast pay gap between men and women in sports. Women's tennis stars like Serena Williams and Maria Sharapova make the top of the list. Thanks to endorsement deals, which often yield more riches than prize money, most of the women in this team sports make far less money. The best salary in the WNBA, for example, was $117,500, and the best salary in the NBA was $37.4 million. The salary cap from National Pro Fast Pitch Softball League is $175,000, while the MLB teams like the Boston Red Sox have $227 million payroll cap. While progress in individual sports such as tennis has bridged much of the pay gap, team sports are still a long way off. So what do y'all think needs to happen for the team sports to close the pay gap?
I think we need to keep highlighting the disparity, especially in team sports. The fact that women in tennis can earn so much from endorsement shows that there are potential for women's sports in other sports to do the same. But for that to happen, there needs to be more investment, media coverage, and equal opportunities for female athletes. Until that happens, the pay gap will remain.
Bro, exactly. It's always about creating more opportunities for women in team sports to get the same attention and sponsorships. Women in tennis get paid well because they have strong media presence. But in team sports, that's still lacking. More coverage, more fans, and better support from organizations can help close the gap. But it's going to take time.
That's awesome. And thank you so much for tuning into this podcast. I'm your host, Jason Rogers, and a big thank you to our guests, Dominic and Jose, for sharing their insights today. If you found this conversation valuable, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you never miss an episode. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode, so make sure to tune in, and remember, we drop a new episode every week.